Tonight, the verdict just in the police beating death of Tyre Nichols, the future of 3 former Memphis officers in the jury's hands, what they have just decided. Also tonight, Melania Trump in a major break with her husband on abortion rights, saying it's a woman's fundamental right, and what Donald Trump just said about this. Vice President Kamala Harris at this hour appearing with Liz Cheney and Bruce Springsteen endorsing Kamala Harris. And tonight, the developing headline involving the Menendez brothers. First tonight, this verdict just in the police beating death of Tyre Nichols following a traffic stop. 3 former Memphis police officers accused of violating his civil rights. Federal prosecutors say the officers laughed and bragged about beating him, saying they never called medics in order to protect themselves. What the jury just decided, and will go live to the courthouse. Tonight, former First Lady Melania Trump in that major break with her husband, taking a stand to support abortion rights, reportedly writing in her new memoir, "Abortion is a woman's fundamental right." But in excerpts and video released so far, Melania Trump makes no mention of her husband, President Trump, taking credit for appointing the 3 justices who helped the Supreme Court overturn Roe in this country. Tonight, the former president's response just in. Meantime, at this hour, Vice President Kamala Harris campaigning in Wisconsin with former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, the daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney, a former Republican leader on Capitol Hill. Both Liz Cheney and her father have endorsed Kamala Harris. The death toll from Hurricane Helene rising, more than 200 dead now, including a couple married more than 50 years. Grandparents found together in their home. Tonight, the National Guard on the ground, mules now being used to get through areas with supplies because vehicles still cannot get through in some regions. Breaking news tonight, word of a temporary agreement in the dockworkers strike affecting ships waiting all along the East Coast and the Gulf. Could this mean good news for workers and the millions of Americans who are bracing for higher prices? We'll go live on the agreement. The breaking headline tonight, the notorious murder trial of Lyle and Eric Menendez, the brothers sentenced to life in prison without parole for killing their parents. What the Los Angeles DA is now suggesting. Tonight, tourists horrified in Cancun, gunmen storming the beach, killing someone. The escape then on a jet ski. Tonight, the new lawsuit filed against country music star Garth Brooks, a hairstylist and makeup artist, accusing him of sexual assault. And tonight, who is the WNBA's Rookie of the Year? The cheers when they heard her name.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight with David Muir.
Good evening. It is great to have you with us here on a very busy Thursday night. We begin tonight with the breaking news. A verdict just in the police beating death of Tyre Nichols in Memphis after a traffic stop in January of last year. Tonight, 3 former officers have now been found guilty of federal civil rights charges. The horrific incident captured on surveillance and body camera video. Nichols pulled from his vehicle and beaten a block from his home. The 3 officers were fired from the force. They pleaded not guilty to these charges. But tonight, a mixed verdict in the death of the 29-year-old. 3 officers have been found guilty of obstruction. 1 officer guilty of violating Nichols' civil rights, causing bodily injury. ABC's Stephanie Ramos in the courtroom when the verdict was read moments ago. She leads us off tonight.
It's a case that outraged the nation. Tyre Nichols, seen in disturbing video, brutally beaten by Memphis police officers and ultimately pummeled to death early last year.
Watch out, watch out.
And tonight, 3 of those former officers, Tadarius Bean, Demetrius Haley, and Justin Smith, each have been found guilty in the federal civil rights trial.
Damn, I didn't do anything.
During the nearly month-long federal trial, 2 other officers who were also part of the now disbanded Scorpion unit meant to patrol high-crime hotspots, taking the stand and testifying against their fellow squad members.
Stop!
Nichols kicked, punched, tased, and pepper sprayed by the officers, at one point begging for his life, crying out for his mother, who lived just 1 block away. The 29-year-old father critically injured, dying 3 days later.
We're all very, very happy that these guys have been put in jail.
Powerful reaction tonight from the Nichols family. All 3 former Memphis police officers convicted of obstruction, but only 1 former officer, Demetrius Haley, was also convicted of violating Nichols' civil rights, causing bodily injury. David.
Stephanie Ramos among the reporters outside that courthouse at this hour. Stephanie, thank you. Meantime, we turn now to former First Lady Melania Trump in a major break with her husband, taking a stand to support abortion rights, reportedly writing in her new memoir that abortion is a woman's fundamental right, and saying in social media that there is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right. But in excerpts and video released so far, Melania Trump makes no mention of her husband, former President Trump, taking credit for appointing the 3 justices who helped the Supreme Court overturn Roe. Tonight, the former president's response just in, and here's Rachel Scott.
Tonight, Donald Trump in battleground Michigan, rallying his supporters, but making no mention of the surprising new headline from his wife. Former First Lady Melania Trump, now staking out a very different position from her husband on the critical issue of abortion. In excerpts from her new memoir published by The Guardian, the former First Lady declaring herself a lifelong supporter of abortion rights, writing, "Restricting a woman's right to choose whether to terminate an unwanted pregnancy is the same as denying her control over her own body." Mrs. Trump, who rarely speaks out on issues, then releasing this promotional video just 33 days before the election.
There is no room for compromise when it comes to this essential right that all women possess from birth: individual freedom. What does my body, my choice really mean?
According to the book Excerpts, which ABC News has not confirmed, the former First Lady writes, "A woman's fundamental right of individual liberty to her own life grants her the authority to terminate her pregnancy if she wishes." But in none of the published excerpts does Mrs. Trump address her husband's key role in eliminating a woman's constitutional right to an abortion.
I, Neil M. Gorsuch.
The former president has often boasted of appointing 3 of the Supreme Court justices who overturn Roe v. Wade.
Nobody has ever done more for right to life than Donald Trump. I put 3 Supreme Court justices who all voted, and they got something that they've been fighting for 64 years.
Throughout his presidency, Trump proclaimed himself a staunch opponent of abortion rights.
I'm proud to be the most pro-life president in American history.
Now, with the election fast approaching and Trump struggling to win over some women voters, he insists he wanted the matter of abortion returned to the states. Vice President Kamala Harris says, don't be fooled.
He intended for them to undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as he intended, they did. Now, in more than 20 states, there is a Trump abortion ban.
Tonight, Donald Trump responding to his wife's new words.
We spoke about it, and I said, you have to write what you believe. I'm not going to tell you what to do. You have to write what you believe.
Again, David, none of the passages that have been released so far in Melania Trump's book make any mention of Roe versus Wade being overturned or her husband's role in appointing 3 of the Supreme Court justices who ultimately supported that decision. She did not speak out then, but she is making her position known now, 33 days out from the November election, David.
Rachel Scott on the campaign trail. Rachel, thank you. Meantime, the developing headline involving Vice President Kamala Harris at this hour, campaigning in Wisconsin with former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney, the daughter of former Vice President Dick Cheney. She and her father have endorsed Harris, and now Liz Cheney campaigning tonight with Kamala Harris. And tonight, Harris with another endorsement, what Bruce Springsteen is now saying about the stakes in this election. Mary Bruce tonight from Wisconsin.
Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris in Ripon, Wisconsin, the town considered the birthplace of the Republican Party, standing shoulder to shoulder with former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney. Cheney, daughter of former Republican Vice President Dick Cheney, was a 3-term Congresswoman and the 3rd-ranking Republican in the House before going on to chair the January 6th committee. Endorsing Harris, she declared Donald Trump a danger to democracy.
I know that the most conservative of conservative values is fidelity to our Constitution. I tell you, I have never voted for a Democrat, but this year I am proudly casting my vote for Vice President Kamala Harris.
Cheney has been on a mission to convince her fellow Republicans to put country over party and back Harris, stressing they share common values like preserving international alliances like NATO, and argues when it comes to the economy, Trump's plan for across-the-board tariffs does not represent conservative fiscal values. Her father, the former vice president, a staunch Republican, has also endorsed Harris, saying there has never been an individual who is a greater threat to our republic than Donald Trump. He tried to steal the last election using lies and violence to keep himself in power after the voters had rejected him. He can never be trusted with power again. And today, another notable endorsement, Bruce Springsteen throwing his support to Harris with a similar warning.
Donald Trump is the most dangerous candidate for president in my lifetime.
his disdain for the sanctity of our Constitution, the sanctity of democracy, the sanctity of the rule of law, and the sanctity of the peaceful transfer of power should disqualify him from the office of president ever again.
And Liz Cheney here just saying that Kamala Harris is now standing in the breach, saying she's trying to unite reasonable people from across the political spectrum. It comes as the Harris campaign is now upping its outreach to GOP voters, with Republican supporters holding events this week in every key battleground state. David.
Mary Bruce with Vice President Kamala Harris campaigning tonight with Liz Cheney there in Wisconsin. Mary, thank you. Next tonight, Hurricane Helene, now the deadliest hurricane since Katrina. More than 200 people now confirmed dead, hundreds still unaccounted for. And the remarkable new images still emerging after this storm. A camper van plunging over a waterfall in a rushing river. This is in Virginia. Just extraordinary. And tonight now, an investigation after floodwaters tore through a factory and a parking lot. What workers were told as the waters were rising, they're looking into this. At least 2 workers were killed in Tennessee. National Guard troops delivering water in hard-hit Asheville, North Carolina. And with so many roads impassable, mules are now being used to deliver medicine and supplies. This is in Black Mountain, North Carolina. ABC's Morgan Norwood again tonight from North Carolina.
Tonight, the staggering human toll from Hurricane Helene. More than 200 killed, countless communities crippled. In Asheville, the North Carolina National Guard working 24/7 to get those supplies out into the field.
We've been running supplies to fire stations, homeless shelters, schools where they have temporary airfields set up, just to get the supplies out so they can distribute those out to communities, just to get them to people in need who are stranded or just low on supplies.
But with hundreds of roads impassable, troops can only go so far. Outside Asheville and Swannanoa, we found volunteers using pack mules to get insulin over those last rugged steps up the mountain to families in need.
Thank you guys for clearing the path. You know, to be able to put 4 or 5 mules in a row, you know, with one person leading them, you know, they're able to carry 150 pounds each to get supplies, which is more effective.
Meanwhile, in Tennessee, the Attorney General launching a criminal investigation into the owner of the Impact Plastics factory in Irwin. Videos posted to social media showing Helene's floodwaters swallowing cars in the factory's parking lot. 2 employees did not survive. Jacob Ingram, among some workers alleging permission to leave the facility, came too late.
I went and asked one of the higher-ups if we could leave, and they told us not to leave yet, that they had to go make sure that it was okay for us to leave with another higher-up.
The company says it will cooperate fully, writing, "At no time were employees told that they would be fired if they left the facility." And tonight, we're learning more about the victims. Grandparents Jerry and Marcia Savage were teenage sweethearts, married more than 50 years. They were killed when a tree fell on their Beach Island, South Carolina home. Their son says they were found in each other's arms in a final embrace.
And David, back here in western North Carolina, they are still searching tonight. The Buncombe County Sheriff says more than 200 people still unaccounted for. David?
Thinking about all of those families through the storm zone. Thank you again tonight, Morgan. Tonight, there's also breaking news at this hour involving that dockworkers strike that has crippled shipping all along the East Coast and the Gulf. In fact, there is late word coming in at this hour that the union is suspending the strike until at least January 15th. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze back in New Jersey live for us tonight. Elizabeth, what have you learned?
David, sources familiar with these negotiations tell us that the union and the shipping industry group have reached a tentative agreement that will suspend this strike until January 15th. This agreement covers wages. Both sides would then return to the negotiating table to resolve their outstanding issues in January. We've seen this strike stretch 3 days. 47,000 dock workers walked off the job for the first time in nearly 50 years. And shipping at more than a dozen ports all along the East and Gulf Coast has been at a standstill. Those shipments should now be able to resume. David?
Well, hopefully that's relief for both the workers and the millions of Americans who are bracing for higher prices in the coming weeks. Elizabeth Schulze with the breaking news. Thank you, Elizabeth. We're also monitoring the escalating situation overseas tonight as the Middle East now braces for Israel's retaliation after Iran's unprecedented missile attack. Israeli forces are already stepping up their bombing campaign of Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon, tonight conducting one of the heaviest bombings of Beirut in weeks. There is news tonight an American man could be among those killed in an Israeli airstrike. Ian Pannell from Beirut again tonight.
Tonight, Israel pounding Lebanon for the 11th straight day as it readies a response to that massive Iranian missile attack. Israel claiming it hit 15 Hezbollah targets here in Beirut, including a commander.
Around 1 a.m. in the morning, without any warning from Israel, this health center in the middle of Beirut was struck. It is affiliated to Hezbollah, but there's no evidence that there was a valid military target here.
At least 9 civilians killed in that attack, according to local officials. Nearly 2,000 killed in Lebanon since last year, and today, news an American is among the dead. The family of Kamal Ahmed Jawad of Dearborn, Michigan, saying he was killed by an Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon. Jawad had been volunteering, helping the elderly, disabled and injured. And as Israel prepares to retaliate against Iran for that missile barrage, new images show major damage to a military base. President Biden today acknowledging that plans to hit Iranian oil facilities have been discussed. This new satellite image showing Iranian ships have left a crucial oil terminal in the Persian Gulf ahead of a possible Israeli strike.
David, a U.S. official confirming Iran sent an indirect message to the U.S. urging the Biden administration to hold Israel back, while warning an Israeli attack on Iran would lead to a more severe response. David?
Ian Panel in Beirut for us again tonight. Ian, thank you. Meantime, back here in the U.S. and to Colorado tonight, where a former county clerk has been sentenced to 9 years in prison for tampering with voting systems that she was supposed to be protecting. Tina Peters was convicted of leading a scheme that tried to prove that machines were used to rig the 2020 election against Donald Trump. Peters gave access to Mesa County's election software to an associate of Mike Lindell, the MyPillow guy. Sensitive data from those machines then showed up on the internet. Tonight, she's been sentenced. When we come back here, the breaking headline at this hour involving the notorious murder trial of Lyle and Eric Menendez. Also, chilling images from Cancun, tourists horrified, gunmen storming the beach, killing one person, the escape then on a jet ski, and a new lawsuit tonight filed against country music star Garth Brooks. In a moment here. Tonight, the Los Angeles DA says his office will review new evidence in one of the most notorious murder cases in American history. DA George Gascon now says prosecutors are weighing petitions from Lyle and Eric Menendez to vacate their convictions. The brothers serving life without parole for the brutal murders of their parents in 1989. They have claimed they acted in self-defense after being abused and have provided what they considered new evidence that they say proves it. Tonight, chilling images of a deadly shooting at a 5-star resort in Cancun. Video showing the chaotic moments. After 2 gunmen stormed the beach, a man was shot and killed in front of terrified tourists near the hotel Rio Caribe. At least one of the suspects getting away on a jet ski. Authorities say the victim was a suspect in another drug-related shooting. When we come back tonight, the new lawsuit against country music star Garth Brooks and the allegations tonight. And then who is the WNBA's Rookie of the Year? To the index of other news, Garth Brooks is facing a new lawsuit accusing him of sexual assault and misconduct. A hair and makeup artist claims he assaulted her multiple times while working for him in 2019. He has previously denied all allegations. Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark has been named WNBA Rookie of the Year. She led all rookies in points, assists, and steals. Her teammates celebrating when she got the call.
Congratulations, Caitlin. You are the 2024 Kia WNBA Rookie of the Year.
Clark also helping to lead the league to record ticket sales. When we come back here tonight, the wedding surprise after the I do. One more question in a moment here. Finally tonight here, the moment after the I do's that was just as moving. Tonight in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, outside Knoxville, the emotional surprise at this wedding that had everyone, especially the groom, in tears. Aaron and Matt Maples getting married after years together, blending their families, among them Aaron's 12-year-old daughter, Kylie. She and Matt bonded over the years. She would eventually tell her mother that she hoped that Matt would adopt her one day. Right before the wedding, mom and daughter came up with an idea that right after the I do's, Kylie would hold up this handmade sign. You didn't give me life, life gave me you. Thank you for always loving me as your own, but I have a question. The other side reading, will you be my dad forever? This is the moment. Tonight, that daughter, Kylie, telling us, I was so nervous until I saw Matt's face light up. Then I felt much better. When Matt was reading the sign, he started tearing up, and I knew that made him the happiest in the world. And that new forever father tonight, Matt, who was adopted himself, telling us it was a really special moment. The fact a child wants you to be their father. I was thinking I just hoped I would be able to give her the love that my adopted parents gave me. Tonight, the newlyweds and their new forever family. Grateful. Well, what a beautiful family. We sure needed that tonight. I'm David Muir. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Good night.
Thank you for making World News Tonight with David Muir, America's most watched newscast.